Call the meeting to order. This time I'd like to ask Commissioner Stewart if you'll lead us in the invocation and the pledge, please.
Sure. Please stand and join us. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come and serve you as our servants of the county. Lord, I just ask that you grant us wisdom tonight to carry out the duties of the county. Lord, we thank you for the rain, but God, you can turn it off any time. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, thank you all for coming out. We got a good crowd tonight. I'd like to let you know that there's a couple opportunities for you to speak. There's two different citizens to be heard. You can speak at either the one at the beginning of the meeting or the one at the end, but not both. Please fill out a speaker card over here with Miss Patty. You can also speak on each individual item that is covered on the agenda and fill out a speaker card for each individual one. When you come up, please give us your name and your address. Speak clearly into that microphone so the folks at home can hear you as well. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
We need to move tabs 7 and 8 to general business.
7 and 8.
Yeah, it needs to be done after tab 19, because the date of your first September meeting is important for all three of those.
Okay, very good. And we're going to also add a presentation from Miss Joanne Palmer with Keep Wakulla County Beautiful. Yep, there she is. Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, I've heard from one of our Panacea residents, Cherie Posey, that the word is that we're going to be voting tonight on some sort of oyster leases. We have nothing to do with that. We're not voting on any oyster leases.
There's nothing on the agenda that pertains to oysters at all. You can certainly speak during citizens to be heard, either at the beginning or at the end, but there's no action items for us to take in regard to a vote for oysters tonight.
Thank you, Cherie.
Motion to approve with changes.
Do we have a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Miss Patty, any citizens to be heard?
Whoops, sorry.
All right. We'll start out with Mr. Gerald Fielder. Welcome, Pastor.
Thank you, sir. I'm here with concerning the boat ramp at Lake Ellen. Just wanted to ask the board for a few things. I would perhaps maybe like you to direct your office over there. They could give us a few things. So first of all, you chose to close the public boat ramp, and we would like papers, legal papers that directed you to make that decision. You said that FWC years ago was directed to put a boat ramp in, and they put it in the wrong place, and we would like for that documentation also. The Wakulla County citizens, I think, you know, with county, we own a right-of-way there on Lake Ellen Drive to the lake, and we would like for that to remain. We have been told that all this stuff has been in the hands of DEP. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I called DEP, and I was told by the director of this area that they had received nothing at all from the county in concerning these matters at all. And we have heard that, you know, we might get a boat ramp, we might not get a boat ramp, and all this. It kind of sounds like the guiding light or the secret storm. But I'd like for you to respond with all the kinds of legal paperwork and documents to help you to make your decision with this, if you would, please.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if he could, he needs to turn those into official records request.
There we go. And everyone is welcome to have any documents that we have with this or any other issue. So if you can come to the county office and do a records request specifically of what you're looking for, then we'd be glad to put that together.
Or you can email it.
Yes, sir.
I'll come to the office. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Next, Miss Jeannie Beck.
Hello, Commissioners.
Hello.
Jeannie Beck, Osceola Street, Panacea. I'm also a member of WCFA, and I'm their events coordinator. Anyway, we've been working really hard to get the state to be more reasonable with the regulations. It's a pretty hard battle because, as you know, the state hasn't historically been real cooperative with commercial fishermen. We don't have a lot of wealthy donors or political clout or anything like that, so it's been very hard. Now, we're also having to make sure that we can keep the waters in our county to where the fishermen can continue to make a living as they have for years. All we're asking for is a moratorium on more aquaculture leases. The leases that are there are fine, and we have friends and family that also have leases. We want them to be successful, but we want to be able to have our fishermen fish also. So we're just asking for a moratorium until the leases that have already been given out are proven to, or are being worked for one thing, and are proven to be unprofitable. I don't think this is an unreasonable request. It's unfortunate that somebody went and vandalized the oyster leases for a lot of reasons. The person who did it is a coward. Somebody also vandalized our boat the next day. But the thing is, you know, we're not happy about this. We want harmony in this county, and it doesn't help us at all. We've been planning to have our presentation for weeks now in front of the county commission. This is something that's really important to us, and now, you know, the timing of this doesn't exactly help us. We're sorry about what happened to them, but you know, the guy who did it is obviously some jerk and a coward. Now, unfortunately, there's also been, you know, just from a couple people on the other side, some real smack talk on Facebook, you know, fake stories, malicious lies about some of the people in our organization. I have nothing to say to that, you know, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, it certainly wasn't anything that was helpful to us. Every meeting, our president emphasizes how we have to be patient working with the state. We have to let the lawyers do what they're doing, and it takes forever, but we've got to dot all the I's, cross all the T's, kiss the butt, all that stuff, because we don't have clout. So we really have to, you know, do everything the right way and be on our best behavior all the time. And as far, he says, every single meeting, he says, we are not against the aquaculture program. We have friends and family involved in it. We want everybody in this county to be successful. They just want to be able to work too. As I said, a moratorium on more leases at this time is not unreasonable.
Thank you, Ms.
Okay?
Beck.
All right.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Sharon Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Sharon Bradley Fitzgerald, 225 Mill Creek Road. I am the owner of Plain Hooky Enterprise, a third-generation aquaculture business founded in 1982 by my father. Since 2001, I have been successfully farming clams in Alligator Harbor. In 2014, we started growing oysters, and we joined the Wakulla Environmental Institute's oyster aquaculture program to secure a lease in Wakulla County, to bring back the oyster to Wakulla County. There's a reason why they called it Oyster Bay. We have been very successful in growing oysters in Alligator Harbor. However, we have only planted clams on our lease in Oyster Bay, mainly due to the presence of a poacher. I reported the poaching issue last year at the board meeting on July 31st. What's today's date? While a poacher is only motivated by personal gain, the recent crime last week that removed 64 marker poles required by the federal government in the Bay is not for personal gain. Last week's crime was motivated by a desire to destroy the oyster aquaculture industry in Oyster Bay and Skipper Bay. There is only one organization that continues to publicly declare an issue with the Wakulla County aquaculture: the Wakulla Fishermen's Association. This is sabotage, organized crime. I hope the Wakulla Fishermen's Association is here tonight with a sincere effort to work together. It would be a great benefit to them instead of all this drama. Thank you, and I hope that you will act accordingly to save an industry that I believe can contribute greatly to this county. More jobs. By the way, I have 5 people working with me. That's 5 Wakulla County citizens that make a good, honest living every month. And I've had to cut back on one of them just to pay for the property damage done this past week. Not to mention the poaching. But that's not why we're here today. We're here today because there is an organized effort to destroy oyster aquaculture in this county. And it's all over the newspapers. We supposedly sunk their boat. The boat's been out there in the marsh for at least 8 months, derelict. And then they're going to tow it in and say we sunk it? I don't think so. We don't have time and or money to waste on childish behavior. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Larry Bowen.
Commissioners, again, on the oysters, I'd just like to say that, in my opinion, it's neither the commercial fishermen doing any of this damage.
Larry, if you will, tilt that up where we can, there we go.
Okay. Or the guys that are doing the aquaculture, they're not doing any of the mischief. It's somebody that's just got nothing better to do than just to mess things up. As far as this oyster program, it works, and it's going to be a hell of a business. It can work for commercial guys as well as the guys that's already in it. There's opportunity for the commercial guys to get in it at a minimum amount of money, which if you don't possess a saltwater products license or haven't in the past, it can get expensive. But the state has set up programs where they favor commercial guys because they know they've had a hard time. I've been a commercial fisherman for 30 plus years. I know how hard it is. I know the state has had their foot on our daggone necks since '95. And I just think that they need to come together, stop the blaming each other, because there's no commercial guy out there going to go out there and tear somebody's stuff up, because he knows how hard it is to put this stuff together. And there's no oysterman out there going to go sink nobody's boat. He, just like the lady said, he don't have time to do that stuff. And the caliber of people who are in this aquaculture program, they're pretty bright people, minus myself. But they just wouldn't stoop to that level. They're a great bunch of people. The commercial guys are a great bunch of people. They just need to come together, and they do have legitimate gripes. For instance, blocking of the creeks. During certain times of year, these fish fall out of these creeks. Commercial guys depend on them to be an open alleyway for them to travel throughout the bays. Some of you guys know a little bit about mullet fishing, and you understand that the migration route is just like any other migration route. If you interrupt it, then you've stopped the flow. You've stopped the paycheck for those guys. So the aquaculture program, the oyster lease, they need to be aware of where they put these leases, and they need to have the input of commercial guys. Just gotta work together, and common sense. I mean, you don't take over a whole daggone area just because it's suitable bottom. But then again, you can't say, no, you can't have that area because we fished it forever. There's got to be a happy medium there somewhere.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Next, Mr. Robert Sider.
6:30. Let me give these out. This is a study that was done by Auburn. At the time we were starting the program, here's one of the key pages to that. and this is what I'm going to speak on. Robert Seidler from Sopchoppy, Florida. And I know how hard change is coming to Wakulla. I've been involved with a lot of pretty strange things. But here, it's very unique. What I just gave you was a 2014 study that Auburn had done on exactly the type of aquaculture we're doing. And what it sums up is how much benefits come to the fishery in dollar amounts per acre per year. And it's between $1,500 and $2,000 per acre per year to the fishery. This is a big deal. This is a big win-win-win. The community wins, the county wins, and the ecosystem wins. And we have never seen anything like this go into Wakulla. Historically, oysters are a keystone species, but everything's been take oysters, take fish, take everything. What we've done, we've turned that around, and we're giving. Our oysters go out in baskets. They're grown in a hatchery. They produce cover and food for all the other creatures, and that's what brings that dynamic ring to it and provides so much economic benefit to the county. So it's a pretty big deal to watch this. I've been involved since the beginning. I've seen radical changes in the ecosystem myself, and I think that we need to work with the fishermen and get them to understand, what we're doing long term is going to make the fishery so much better than it even was back in the 70s. And Leo Level has mentioned this. He hasn't seen this ecosystem so healthy since he moved here, and we're only in our second year out there. So given the tiny speck of land we're taking with the coastal resources, but the gigantic regeneration process going on, I think we really need to start thinking about the science of this and less about the emotion of it. And if everybody wins, we're really on to something. And with this, everybody does win. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, Mr. Bob Danzy.
My name's Bob Danzy. Thank you for letting me speak. I don't even see where this is on the agenda, so maybe we're just saying our piece. I don't know. It appears that way.
Nothing on the agenda.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I tell you, I have a lot to say, but these guys probably say it, and I know y'all like to sort of save time. As of now, the state looks after this, and the county's not in it, and as much as I think of you guys and what you do, now you don't have any say-so over the bay, or you can put yourself in that position, but right now that I know of, y'all are not involved, and I guess I'd just ask you to stay neutral and let us deal with this with the state, and I'll just keep it to that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, Mr. Don Porter.
I don't know a lot of y'all, but I'm sure a bunch of these people know me. I'm Don Porter, Panacea. Commercial fished all my life. There's some time back when I had to quit commercial fishing, and a lot of these guys, they didn't. 94 when they took my nets. I found out quick that I couldn't make a living, not commercial fishing. And for them to say that we're hurting them, it's no hurt. I fished all my life. I know the runs of the fish. I know which way they go. I've been there. I've done that. So as far as the oyster farmers hurting the commercial fishermen or the crabbers, there's no way. Only thing that can hurt commercial fishermen is people doing stuff that they shouldn't do down the shore. And I won't say that. They know what I'm talking about. They understand. So as far as anything that we've doing to harm anything is nothing. Like today, I had my brother-in-law out there, and I showed him soft-shell crabs that are shedded out laying on top of our cages. They do that strictly to hide from fish because when they're soft, they're vulnerable. So that's doing nothing but helping the crabbers. The more crabs they're going to catch. So, and I know that this is not on the agenda tonight, so a lot of stuff that I'm saying don't have anything to do. But just to let you know that I've fished all my life, and you can look it up, ask anyone. My whole family fishes. The only mullet fishermen that I've saw in the last year out there around where our oyster leases are, we saw two. We saw Nelson Nichols go by one time. He rode by outside of us. And my brother is 78 years old, Scrunch Porter. A lot of y'all know Scrunch. He's out there, him and Boots fishing. I seen them go down 7 Cabby Shore one time. So anytime y'all want to ride out and look, we'll go out and look at all these commercial fishermen out there in our bay that we're destroying. They're not out there. They're just like me. They're not out there. Because you can't make a living unless you do it a different way than what I know how to do it. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Next, Mr. Shannon Hartsfield.
My name's Shannon Hartsfield. I'm from Franklin County, and I was asked to come over and speak on behalf of some of the fisheries over here. So what we had done over in Apalachicola was there was an area that it was already done with, they was clamming, and we don't do anything at that end of the area. We didn't have no problem with it, but when they wanted to come in and do our beds and take over some of our area that we oyster and crab and shrimp, it was a problem. Now I went to a lot of meetings with DAX, showing out what you can make, how you could do it, and the best you can do in a 16 to 18 month period is $18,000 a year. If you spend $17,000 to get into it right, it was not a solution for Apalachicola. Apalachicola has been rebuilding their beds, and it's been working really great. You got a lot of areas over here that is good harvested oyster areas that needs to be repaired and rebuilt, and that will give oystermen that's made their living oystering, guys that's made their living crabbing, don't interfere. But when you start taking bottom from these guys that's been making their living forever, it's not right. It's really not right. So, I mean, you can do all the oyster farm agriculture you want to do, but that's not going to benefit the locals. It's going to benefit whoever is out to make an easy profit with a there is no profit in it, because you're not going to grow oysters in a 12-month period, not unless you're going to sell 1.5 inch oysters. So there's just no way you're going to make any money doing that. But it's not worked in Apalachicola, but the rebuilding the beds has worked greatly, and that has helped us a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Just to reiterate, Mr. Chairman, we're not taking any bottom. All right, we don't do that.
Nothing.
Okay.
We got some empty seats back there still. Folks, there's a half a dozen or so seats back here if y'all like to come on in and grab a seat. Our last speaker is Mr. Justin Morgan.
How y'all doing? Justin Morgan, 79 M. Hudson Drive. I've been out there oyster farming for a couple years now, and well, really a year on the water, and then a year through the school. But I just want to say, I mean, it is a profitable thing. I mean, we've grown oysters in 7 months up to 3 inches long, and sold them. And you know, our bay and our community here is pretty tight, pretty small. There's a handful of guys that fish that bay out there, and it just seems to me that there's a handful of guys that are doing the oyster farming now, and you know, I've done it with John Taylor and all, gone personally to them and talked directly to them on how we can resolve this issue and work together. And I don't, you know, this little town hall style meetings here, you know, we just say what we think, and we don't actually get down hand to hand, nitty gritty, and come up with a plan on us all working together. And I mean, I've known the Spears fishermen down there for my whole life, and that's all I want to do is work with them and be able to coexist out there in that bay, and to be a fisherman with them. But I'm farming oysters, so.
Thank you, sir. That ends our citizens to be heard. We're going to go into awards and presentation. We're going to start out with Miss Joanne Palmer with Keep Wakulla County Beautiful.
Thank you. Joanne Palmer, Reservation Court, Keep Wakulla County Beautiful. I always want to thank you all for your support, and this has been an exciting year for Keep Wakulla County Beautiful. I know that we've made a positive impact in the recycling efforts, litter control, and now we have a new initiative. We'll be helping with marine debris abatement. So far this year, we've given back over $27,000 in-kind and materials to Wakulla County. KWC has been asked to be the coordinator of the state monofilament recovery and recycle program, and I'm excited to announce the installation of 25 recovery bins. These bins, 25 are going to be installed, one at every public boat ramp, the county boat ramp areas, and we're going to put as many in other areas with waterways as possible. These were all built by Woody and I, but all the materials were purchased with grant dollars, so that's important. Improper disposal of monofilament fishing line causes devastating problems to marine life and the environment. I'm sure some of these fishermen could say they've lost a couple of props or been entangled or seen wildlife that's been entangled. Marine mammals, sea turtles, fish, and birds become injured from entanglement, often dying. Human divers and fishermen are also swimmers are also at risk for entanglement of the lines, and they damage propellers. Monofilament fishing line can be recycled. The program is a monofilament recovery and recycling program. It's a statewide effort to educate the public on the problems caused by monofilament. The line left behind. It also is known as ghost fishing, which I love that term because it involves crab traps that are left, just discarded. If they're knocked loose during the storm, they can entangle and catch things that just die because they're caught, and there's nothing that they can't get out of it. To encourage recycling through a network of line bins and drop-off locations, we're going to have these GPS coordinates on our site so you know where you can get one. We also need volunteers to help with that, to help monitor these bins. And honestly, I hope to goodness that people will try to use these properly. You know, we put out those 25 recycle bins around the county, and I tell you, Roy tells me some stories about those, but anyway. KWCB is looking for volunteers to help to manage these bins and is asking anyone that's interested, please get involved and contact us through our website. Keep Wakulla County Beautiful, I gave you guys new shirts. We hope that you'll use those to encourage the reel in and recycle as you see that. We're busy through the end of the year. We have a free barbecue, get acquainted volunteer event on July 29th. All this is going to be on our website. Please follow us on Facebook. We have coastal cleanup on September the 16th. Our first fundraiser, which we are doing in the last 3 years, is a Texas Hold'em poker tournament, and that's going to be October the 7th at the Senior Center. We're going to have great prizes, and then on October the 28th is our Fall Household Hazardous Waste Day. Please follow us and get involved. We've changed our meeting to once a quarter, so it wouldn't be too difficult to come 4 times a year instead of 12. So if you have any questions, you can always get in touch with me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Joanne. She's always working hard and always has another project in the works. Thank
You
you.
want to set that camera over here? The door's right behind you. There you go.
Now we're going to hear a
Might be fire or
presentation.
something.
Presentation from the Wakulla Commercial Fishermen's Association. Mr. John Taylor.
John Taylor, President of WCFA. Thank you, Commissioners, for letting me do this. We've been planning this for a little over a month now to come do this with y'all. So bear with me when I get this little clicker thing ready.
Hey, right in front of the screen. Sorry. That's all right. You want to go over there? That's where the press usually hangs out.
You know, I want to start off, I've heard a lot of comments in here tonight. And there was vandalism
there's no doubt. You know, but none of my guys did it. And, you know, whoever done it, you know, needs to be prosecuted to the fullest. You know, we stand behind that. All right, let's get this thing started. Wakulla fishermen want to work together with the oyster farmers because Wakulla working together benefits our families in Wakulla County. I have spoke to Justin Morgan. I have spoke to several of the farmers, you know, and how do I make this work? But there's a problem. You know, I've talked to Ag, I've talked to FWC, you know, and the issues is, you know, we're trying to get working with Ag right now and FWC to try to get some of these leases straightened up out there. They're in our channels, you know. We can't navigate them, you know. So we're working on that, and, you know, I'm so passionate about this, man. It's just unreal. It just, you know, these guys make their living out there, you know, and I ain't saying that the oyster farmers ain't doing it, you know. I want to see them prosper just as much as my guys. You know, my guys has been out here for generations. You know, I don't want to take this away from them to do this, you know. We have to work together, you know. They've got 47 or 70 acres out there, 40-something leases, you know, and 16 more that I reckon the damage happened to. You know, there's got to be a stopping point, commissioners. You know, you can't take no more grounds from us. Let me get back to this thing. I'll be done walk past it. We don't want to harm our traditional fishing areas such as crab grounds, blocking channels, mullet runs, create hazards to our boats, harm oyster bars, seagrass, natural reef, or sensitive habitat. A fisherman's going to take care of his grounds. There's no doubt. Wakulla County's conditions are not being met. The SAJ-99 from the Corps of Engineers says it has to be an offset. 50 feet from the oyster bar, or 100 feet from the oyster bar, 500 feet from the hill, and do not block navigational areas and do not interfere with traditional fishing grounds. That is in bold letters in the SAJ-99 from the Corps of Engineers. The issue is we have nobody from FWC, nobody from local law enforcement because they're not budgeted. We have nobody from nowhere to police these systems. They need to be policed. They won't have these issues if it is somebody's out there watching them. FWC spends a lot of money to watch us. There's 40 plus oyster farmer leases out there right now on 1.5 acres totaling 60 acres. Oyster farm leaseholders have 12.9 acres and independent leaseholders, total of 72 oyster farmers. In 2015, 39 plus oyster farmers, 5 farmers reported planting oysters, 3 farmers reported harvesting oysters. As of March the 31st, 2017, 40 plus farmers, 7 farmers reported planting oysters, 1 farmer reported having oysters, harvesting oysters. This is the new proposed leases that I got from agriculture. They want to block our grounds. Let's go come in front of y'all. You know, so what I'm asking is, I want to give y'all something. If y'all just give me 1 second here. So the resolution. I'm going to get up with y'all later, and we're going to discuss what I've gave y'all. And I'm going to come back and try to get an agenda on this. But right now, I'm not really going to speak on this. But right now, with, you know, what's going on out here, this is new proposed leases, you know, and out of all the farmers, I've had 1 contact me that's wanted to work with us. And you know, like you said, there's been some miscommunications, some bad meetings, and we hadn't been able to get down and talk. Agriculture support them.
we're just asking, when this comes back, save our ground, save us. We've been here a long time, fellas. If anybody asks, you call on a commercial fisherman, we do fish fries for y'all. We do it for a death in the family, who they call a fisherman. We've been around, and we take care of our own, and we take care of anybody. I'm gonna kind of cut this thing short, but that's pretty much what I got to say tonight, and I want to work with this group, and my fishermen want to work with this group, but there's got to be a compromise, and that's not in y'all's level. That's going to have to be in the State Department's level, and I reckon what I'm asking is, maybe some of y'all can get with me, and let's meet with the state, and let's kind of slow this thing down, slow this road, because you can't take what little bit we got left. The net ban limited us already, so don't take what I've got out there now. Thank y'all.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, sir. All righty, we'll go, do we have a motion to approve
Motion to
the
approve
consent?
Second.
Second in discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
We got to do 19 first before the consent items.
We're going to go into general business, number 19, then we'll handle the consent. County Administrator?
Yes, this agenda item requests board direction regarding the public hearing date to adopt the FY 2017-18 tentative millage rate and tentative budget, and approval to schedule a public hearing to adopt the FY 2017-18 final millage rate.
Option 1, which is reschedule the board meeting to Wednesday, September 6th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any citizens? Discussion from the board. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Next, we'll go to consent item number 7.
Yes, consent item number 7. Okay, hold on, let me get there.
This is requesting the board to consider the preliminary rate resolution for the solid waste. This keeps the rate at the same rate as last year, at 196. Again, this is setting the maximum. You'll set the final in September.
So move.
Hold on a second. You need to amend the resolution. When this resolution was adopted, it had a September 5th meeting date. It needs to be changed to September
I'll
6th.
accept that friendly advice.
Do we have a motion and a second? Any citizens? Further discussion?
Aye.
All in favor?
Ahead of myself.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Sure,
Passes
you got me nervous
5-0. Item number 8.
Watching me.
This is the same action. This is the preliminary rate resolution for fire services. This is a follow-up really to the 2-hour workshop we just held. This is requesting a rate increase for this year. Again, this is setting the maximum rate. You have the option to set your final rate at your September 6th meeting. This resolution also needs to be amended to reference the September 6th
Motion to
date.
approve with the amendment of the date.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any citizens? Discussion from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Next, we'll move to general business, item number 20.
Number 20, request board approval of amendment number 1 to the capital asphalt construction agreement for the Panacea Roads resurfacing. This resurfaces aprons on off of Rock Landing Road, which are Clark Drive, Mississippi Avenue, Chipola, Alfalfa, and the Wakulla.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any citizens? Discussion from the board? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Item number 21.
Item number 21 is a discussion item to get some board direction with regard to the airport zoning and a recent statutory change. Last year, the Florida legislature adopted a statute that changed a number of things in Chapter 333, but the most important one was imposing a requirement for the county to adopt an ordinance that would, if implemented, would create a zone of around the airport that is equal to half of the airport runway distance extended in all areas that would prohibit residential construction. Obviously, this would impact about 300 287 lots that are already existing down there. There's already residential construction down there. If the county would put this on its books, obviously there would have a devastating effect on the neighborhoods down there, but additionally would potentially have a lot of legal liability for the county.
Motion to direct staff to seek legislative changes to the code, and along with that motion is after the legislative session, next session is done, if nothing's changed, that we abandon the airport, because I'm not willing to go down the route of enforcing this or doing the noise study. So hopefully somebody can get, Ralph, somebody can get with a legislator or FAC or Chris Doolin or somebody, because I'm sure this affects counties, and this may actually work to the advantage of the folks that don't mind the airport but don't want it expanded. For example, if the exemption were to say this doesn't apply to airports that only have a grass runway, they would have assurances that that runway would ever be paid. It could be tailored however it want to be, depends on how well you know your legislator, which I don't know not very well, but anyway, that's my motion. Basically, kick the can down the road till after the legislative session, see if they fix the issue, and we can't proceed because DOTs don't give us any more grant money until we come in compliance with this, or the legislature change the law to make it where we can come in compliance. So the airport expansion will be halted, right, David? We're not going to be punished until they're going to give us time to wait to the legislator to make its mind up.
Well, we don't know that. We would
Well,
have to get with FDOT.
We can assume that they're not going to, because this just happened this last session.
We're supposed to be in compliance by July of this year, right? I mean, I think we're already past the...
If we weren't seeking grants, to be honest with you, I'm sure most counties that are out of compliance are just going to ignore this. The state was supposed to be enforcing this rule, correct, Heather? And they just said, well, we're not going to enforce it more, we're going to make the county enforce it. So they didn't make a new law, they just made who enforces it. They didn't enforce it, but they expect us to. Anyway, that's my motion, if everybody understands.
Basically, maybe these folks hadn't heard the whole story exactly. It's very good on what you said. David, can you expand on that a little bit?
I'll second your motion.
Thank you, Chuck.
Can you rehash what Randy just said?
I can't say any better, really, than what Commissioner Merritt said.
Do it in
David, thank you for saying that.
condense it a little bit.
Well, it basically is, the law has been sitting on the books. The state chose not to enforce it. But this last legislative session says, we want y'all to enforce it now, county, now go enforce it, which is typical of state legislators. So,
Except Halsey.
Except for Halsey, yeah. And, so therefore, we have to do something, either do a noise study to prove, and then even at that point in time, it'll exclude some of the lots that are in there. So we're faced with we're going to have to stop all of what we're doing right now, stop any funding coming with FDOT, because our agreement with FDOT is that any dollars that we spend from here on out, if we don't follow through with the airport, has to be refunded back to FDOT. Okay? So we're going to, if this action goes through as the way you guys do it, we're going to stop, and we're going to tell FDOT to stop. We can't, until this is resolved, we're not going to spend another dime. That's our intent.
It basically, I understand that we have a choice of buying how many lots?
About $14 million worth of lots, yes.
The county has a choice of buying about 14 million in lots and properties around the airport because of that expansion.
Mm-hmm.
The other side of that is if we can get the legislature to change the direction somewhat, we may not have to do that.
That's right.
And we can go forward. But it's pretty much out of our hands now to go forward, because we can't buy your property, we can't buy my property, we can't do that to the tune of $14 million. So it's up to the legislature to make a change. If they will do that, then we can probably go forward. Is that correct?
It'll probably be through FDOT and then to the legislature. They are the ones who's going to make this.
So we're sort of stuck. And as he says, any money that we spend without that approval going forward is your money, my money. And there's no guarantee, even having spent the money, that anything will happen. Now, the other option is maybe Tarpon would like to take the airport back. That's an option. And that's the best way I know.
That's another way to explain it.
but,
That's another
so
way
it's
to-
been
Yeah,
like.
thank you for clarifying that.
So we have a motion and a second. We're going to let the citizens speak, but before we do, Randy, I'd just like to offer a potential thought to consider on your motion. Your motion is two-part, to move forward with the legislature, and if we're not successful at that, to abandon the
Or
airport.
if somebody, it doesn't have to be us, it
Right.
could be any,
Yeah,
anybody.
if we can't solve this problem through the legislature, to abandon it. I'd recommend that we take that second part out, because now we're moved forward with this, but we're telling the legislature, if you don't do this, we're going to do this, and we could always abandon it at a later date.
That's fine,
I think
that's
we
fine.
need to go forward with good faith.
I'll
Let's make
revise it.
our best effort to try to revise that.
Well knowing though that if it doesn't pass the legislature remedies, I'm going to 100%.
I don't know how
I don't
we
think we have any other
can
choice.
afford to buy
Yeah,
$14
we don't
million
have any
worth
other
of
choice. So I'll
lot.
take it out, that's fine.
Okay, before
Dr.
you,
Yule? Second.
before you do that on discussion, I have a lot in Tarpine, so I will have to recuse myself from a vote on this.
So you're going to fill out a form with the...
You have to go outside then, Jerry.
Okay. Very good. All right, we're going to go to the citizens. We'll start out with Miss Beverly Keystone. Thank you, ma'am. Miss Carol Odell.
Good evening. I understand all of y'all's concerns about spending a bunch of money, but the people that live in Tarpine that have houses came there for one reason and one reason only, and that's because there was an airport. It seems to me that, and I hope that the county will really fight hard to get them to not enforce what they've come up with. I don't know when they came up with it. How long has it been on the books? Has it been on the books for a long time?
1 year.
No, it just was passed.
But how long is the noise regulation?
I don't know.
Years, right?
Okay, so here's my question. If it's been on the books for years, when Tarpine was planned and platted and approved by the county, how come they weren't told no? Because nobody was enforcing anything.
It
state-
wasn't actually on the books.
We weren't
Was it
enforcing
then?
it.
It's not a county ordinance now.
Oh, I understand
Last
that.
year, we were told we had to draft an ordinance and adopt one. That's what happened.
This is an unfunded mandate from the state, which is the biggest problem that we deal with the state.
I understand. But my question and point is, I hope that every one of you will fight very hard to get this so that there can be an airport, there can be harmony, and we can just live happily ever after.
Absolutely.
Because if not, who knows?
And this only applies to public airports. If it became a private airport, it does not apply.
I want to be on the record saying I love airplanes, oysters, and commercial fish. And we'll fight for all of the above.
I support fire rescue.
And I know that it takes a 5-0
Carol
vote.
can't.
Well, you go ahead, you might go ahead on the
5-0 vote.
the vote. I've got something coming up I'd like on the same token, but go ahead with your vote on this.
We've got a couple more citizens first. Mr. Alan Pfeiffer.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'll be very, very brief. I know this is a hot potato, but I want both the public and the Commission to think hard about this, because there's no guarantee that if the airport is in fact given back to who, there is not a definite clear path that that Tarpine can absolutely get the airport back. There's so we might wind up in a situation where this looks like a taking, and which could be very, very costly to the Commission. So I don't think, this is a sticky tar baby. I don't know that you can actually go ahead and actually say that we'll give it back and that'll be the end of it. I don't think it'll be that simple. But I did want to point this out, because I think it's important to the many people in Tarpine who love and enjoy the airport, as well as other citizens in Wakulla County. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Our last speaker, Mr. Clay Kirsteiner.
While he's coming up, David, we don't own the airport, do we? We do not own the airport to give it back. Do we own it Okay. I know what you're talking about. It's multiple, whatever, but
There's reverter rights that would come into place.
Reversionary clause in
if
the
we
Reverter clauses that can give it back.
Good evening, Commissioners. Clay Kirsteiner, Stinson Taxiway in Ocklackney Bay. And I appreciate Commissioner Merritt's efforts at bringing this forward, and I think that basically he is promoting in the first part of his thing what I would promote, and that is we do nothing. As Commissioner Thomas says, this has become an unfunded mandate by the state. It's been there, and now all of a sudden the tar baby's been thrown in our laps. But I would point out to you that this all seems to hinge around noise. And I've also pointed out to you that the people that live down in that part of this country, part of this county, have voted with their dollars, they voted with their homes, they voted with their families, that the noise at the airport is not an issue to them. Now, I know there are some that don't like it, but the fact is, we live halfway down the runway. We hear trucks, cars, motorcycles going down Highway 98. We hear boats going up and down the Ocklawaha River, and we don't complain about that noise. That is just part of the way that we live our society today. We have noise around us. If you want to have no noise, go live out in the middle of the Rocky Mountain National Forest. But it's not Wakulla County. I love Carroll O'Dell, but I have to take issue with one thing. We did come here because of the airport. We've invested our dollars, our time, and our energies in Wakulla County. The airport got us here, but it wasn't the airport, it was the people. And that includes all of our friends that are commercial fishermen in Panacea. I have a great deal of respect for those guys. That includes all the people in Crawfordville, everybody in Wakulla County. This is a great county, and we seem to have this strife and turmoil over turf. And we can all enjoy this. We don't have to exclude people, be it oyster fishermen, be it commercial fishermen, be it airplanes and pilots, be it people that like airboats or boats on the water or riding their motorcycles. We have enough space here, we have enough capacity here to encourage the involvement and the continued efforts of everybody in Wakulla County. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
David, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, we can only kick this down the road so much. If the legislature's not remedied this situation, if we continue to ignore it, the airport is out of compliance right now, right? And I'm sure they'll give us a little bit of leeway to see if it's done, but if we don't bring the airport into compliance, which we can't do without grant money, without spending taxpayers' dollars, then they're going to start coming after the county government and make us shut it down or either start fining us. Is that an accurate statement?
They will make us shut it down, yes.
They will make us shut it down. So we're kind of in a catch-22. We can't break it up to standards to keep it licensed because we can't get grants from DOT to do it because we're not in compliance with another standard. So hopefully we're going to change one of those standards so we can be in compliance. But if we were in compliance today and had an active license that was good for another 10 years, we could probably ignore this for 10 more years and not worry about it. But that's not where we're at. I just want to clarify that.
Well, and one of the things that I want to do is investigate. I'm sure we're probably not alone.
No.
There's probably airports all over the state. They're in the same case.
Airports especially.
Exactly, and probably even some big ones that were old airports and never did a noise study. I don't know if anyone has the answer to that yet, but I'd say we reach out to the Florida Association of Counties and, see if we can poll the other counties and find out, because this one kind of slid through, and we were fighting so many things in Tallahassee last year, but yeah, but I missed this one. And
I asked David about the one in Appalachia. You could see that thing from the moon. It's so big. It's it's old World War II training. It's huge. And if you go half the length of the longest runway, there's thousands of houses around.
So that might be the key. We find that it affects a lot of counties, gives us more muscle to go to the legislature and say, hey, you're about to cost us billions of dollars instead of millions of dollars. And so let's investigate.
I look forward to your report.
Very good. Further discussion? Hear none? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Passes 4-0.
Okay, I would like to make a motion, and it takes a 5-0 vote since it's not on the agenda, that we send a letter to our state representatives and the powers that be.
I'll just include that in my original motion. How about that?
Well,
Okay.
I think we need to investigate a little bit first, so we're not putting him out there in the crosshairs yet. I think we need to gather that ammunition first.
All right.
Chris Doolin.
It's a lot different story.
Yes, Chris Doolin, I think, would be small county side especially. I think
Okay.
it'd be a
Let's figure
very
out who's
easy,
on our side and who's against us, and then we figure out where the fight's going to be.
it'd be a very easy issue to resolve though, with just tweaking a little bit of text.
Yeah, absolutely. And it could be the grass runway is the key, or the size
Or
of
it's been
aircraft that
established
lands
since,
there.
because Appalachia,
or the
it's been
lanes
there
there.
since World War II, so it's,
We got a lot of pilots in the room with a lot of experience, so I'm sure they can help us.
hopefully they
craft
know a
that
lot of legislators.
and figure that out.
There you go.
Very good.
It means something.
Thank you. All right, that ends our general business. Yep, that does. And so we'll head into public hearing, item number 22.
Yes, this is a request for the board to consider adoption of an ordinance amending the definition for development under the Land Development Code. With the adoption of this ordinance, certain maintenance activities to homes will no longer require a development permit application, otherwise known as a DPA.
Motion to approve, and I'll let you go ahead and say what those are.
Those specific activities would be the replacement of heating and air conditioning units, water heaters, windows, doors, sidings, and re-roofs on existing homes. These items would still require building permits, but would no longer require the development permit application from the planning department.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any citizens?
Chuck made a third, actually.
All right, further discussion from the board?
Best thing we've done in a long time, too.
Yeah, this saves people money.
And for the Wakulla News, this is rolling back regulations in our county. So, thank you.
It really is. You
It
don't
is.
have to go get a separate, you don't basically have to go have 2 permits to replace your air conditioner. Now you just need
Building
one.
permit.
Yep.
Correct.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Which, the only thing I don't like about what we just did is it wasn't my idea. That is great.
We'll move to planning and zoning, item number 23.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an application for final plat FP 1704 Barbara's Place subdivision in accordance.
approve.
Hold on a second, please. In accordance with section 24.01 of the county code, each commission member needs to disclose any contact they may have received from any interested parties regarding this application. Commissioner Hess.
No.
None.
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 Okay, if there is anyone here who is going to speak or provide information on this application, please stand up to be sworn. This includes the applicant, if the
Karen,
applicant
you don't
is
have to
here.
speak.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Summer?
Yes, this is an application for final plat approval to replat an existing commercial lot located at 68 and 70 Feely Way.
My motion stands.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Karen, you're the only speaker. You want to
Oh,
speak?
no. She doesn't want to talk.
Very good. Further discussion from the board? Hear none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Good job, Karen.
Karen, have you had your latest kid?
Yes, 5 weeks old.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I told her if she couldn't figure out what causes that, my daughter, she's in 9th grade. She's got a book I can let you borrow if you want to read it.
Thank you.
Okay.
That,
Good job, Karen.
that ends our planning and zoning. We have no commissioner agenda items. County attorney, anything additional?
Nothing.
County administrator?
Yes. I'd like to give you an update on the Rock Landing Pier. Justin has a report, he can kind of go over real quickly what the problem was with it, but we've made great progress with gate concrete, or gate precast, I should say. We've gotten prices in for temporary dock and how that design, how that would work. As of right now, we're dealing on about a 2.5 to 3 month construction where they'll actually tear down, or destroy the existing dock. We've also talked to Orr, and we've got a deal between Orr and Ben Withers to take the rubble that'll be coming off of where we destroy the existing pier. They're going to store it until they get previously you guys had approved us to sign the Army Corps permit. As soon as that permit gets approved, we'll take this material and haul it offshore and use one of our county reefs.
To make it artificial.
Artificial reef. So we worked that out. That's in the works. Ben will start probably next week. Last week it was 2 weeks, so yeah, I'd give him probably 2 more weeks. 2 weeks he'll start actual deconstruction of the existing pier. Also, the concrete company Gate, they've actually started their process to go ahead and get their form, get everything built to be able to ship down here in 4 weeks, and then Ben will be on the hook to put them in at that 4 weeks and then pour the slab over the top of that. So with that, Justin, you want to give them an update on what you all figure has caused this problem?
Sure. They did a pretty good job catching up to speed where we are now. What we did find out, basically from Gate, that the problem was caused from a manufacturer defect
In a nutshell, what happened, salt water basically penetrated that existing concrete, caused the steel in the concrete to rust. As it rusted, it expanded and spalled off the concrete below it, pretty well rendering that steel and concrete useless. And that's why, it was recommended that, on an emergency basis that it be closed. That being said, the new process, they're taking steps to go above and beyond what we'd even do for a DOT bridge deck, with the protections, the coatings and whatnot that they're putting on that reinforcing steel. So moving forward, you're going to have a superior product, and we're confident we won't have this problem again in the future.
I was thrilled to hear that they honored their, you don't have contractors very often. How long has it been since that thing?
9 years.
9 years, and they're fully paying to replace the entire
right.
deck. You just don't see that very often.
They're good, honorable guys so far.
Thank you. And girls.
Magnolia, thank you, Justin. Magnolia and Wakulla Gardens sewer update. It's raining, and right now they're trying to lay gravity sewer, and that's a tough thing.
Holes in dirt and rain don't go together.
Holes in dirt and rain. So it's progressing, but it's moving very slowly. Force main funding on the Stop Choppy Highway. We've been notified that the Water Management District will fund 100% of the $1 million that it's going to take. We're working out the contract right now with FDOT, not FDOT, the FDEP, and the Water Management District. As soon as they get that worked out, we're going to throw that into our $10.6 million. And so we'll be bringing something here shortly with you guys on that. The wastewater treatment plant update, we've talked to the USDA, and they will not combine the retrofit. It's going to cost us somewhere between $1.5 and $2 million to retrofit our existing plant to be able to blend in our effluent to meet our 5531 effluent standards. We went to USDA. They said, well, they will not combine it with the existing loan that we have. We'd have to go through the process of just reapplying and everything, and there'd be no grant dollars. But it would cost us more to reapply than we will save in interest. So therefore, we're going to, once we get the final numbers, we'll also, this retrofit will also include an expansion of our existing, we'll no longer spray, we'll actually use a rib system to get rid of our effluent. This will be able to increase what we do at our existing site.
Rapid infiltration
That's
basin,
right. So we'll,
out of wastewater operators like.
So what that'll do is we're going to wrap it all into one funding package and bring it back to you guys as soon as we get the numbers from our hydrologist, and we'll be able to know what that cost will be. Like I say, it's right now probably about 1.5 million is what I'm thinking. I may be high, but we'll have to wait and see. So anyway, that's that. Earlier, the Lake Ellen was brought up. Lake Ellen will be on the agenda for you guys to vote on the next at our next meeting.
Mr. Chairman, while he's on sewer, we haven't gotten official notice yet, but I was told by the DOT guy, Jared, is that his name?
Yes.
Justin Peters, the guy on the development side, that Wakulla County will be given a forgivable loan for design of the sewer along 319 for the 4-lane and construction.
At relocation.
Relocation.
Right.
Which is huge.
That's the mitigation. Is that right?
No, this is
no.
They 4-lane the road.
This is when they 4-lane the road. They'll pay for that.
Oh, okay.
They're going to give us a forgivable loan. Remember, it cost us how much at the intersection?
$280-something thousand.
Out of our pocket, we had to pay to move that sewer line. He verbally told me that their whatever their office.
Yeah, and what that'll be is we'll take a loan out with them, then they'll forgive that loan.
So that's
wow.
Tens,
as long as we complete it.
Millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to take credit for it, but go ahead.
Well, you're on the CT. You're on the CRT.
We weren't going to let you take credit.
Yeah, Randy has done a yeoman's job dealing with between the CRTPA and FDOT. That was big.
When we met the district secretary, the guy that attended Wakulla High School, he says, what do y'all need in Wakulla? I said, we need somebody to pay for that sewer relocation.
Right.
We can't afford it.
And I'm going to never earn enough paychecks to pay all that back.
No.
You're ahead of the game.
Thank you.
Good deal. That's it.
That's
all right.
A lot of money.
Citizens to be heard. Number 2, we'll start out with Mr. Reed Tilley.
guys.
Welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Reed Tilley. I reside in Medart. I am 21 years old, and I'm the youngest oyster aquaculturist in Wakulla County, to my knowledge. I'm here representing my own company that I have started, and I plan on growing over 1 million oysters this year out there in the bay. Some people in this room, I have a very good reputation, I think, in this community, and I'm not here to ruin it tonight by some of the things that I could say. But there, some people call me a finger pointer, and I have facts of information that has been said at some of the meetings with the Fishermen's Association. I won't go into detail unless you want me to. I am here to stand up for my business, and I'm here to stand up for the other oystermen out there. And we can work all together out there, the fishermen and the oyster farmers. There's loans that can be taken out that we've actually set up, I'm in a co-op, and we've worked with some banks. If you're a fisherman and you want to get into this, you can go get a loan. It's you don't have to. There's no I can't think of the word. You pay the loan back whenever you harvest your oysters. Mm-hmm. There's no collateral, so you can get in this. Fishermen are hard-headed, and that's why they're fishermen. They're still in their in their day job because they're just hard-headed, and they can make a living oyster farming if they come together and they work with us, and there's people in this county that can teach them how to oyster farm, and I think we can all work to the greater good, and I hope that the words that I say tonight go a long way. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, Mr. Donald Curley.
My name is Donald Curley. I live at 95 Choctaw Road, and in the rocks and the rain, the holes and all that. But I'm not here for that. Went out today with my brother-in-law to his oyster lease, and I was amazed at what I saw. From what he said, that they start out with the seeds. Within a month, they've got oysters as big as my thumb, and I've got them right now at my house. I never had oysters that good from around here in my life at this time of year, that are salty, that are delicious, they're fine, they're beautiful oysters. Mostly all you get around here is scissorbill. I heard the people up here talking about them planting in the channels and all that stuff, but I didn't hear any of them complain about when they were doing the oyster relays, and they were doing all of that and putting all of that in the channels, because as soon as it come time to go oystering, when they had summer oyster closed, as soon as the season opened, they went out there and they gathered those oysters up that they took out of polluted water, and they made money. They made money twice. They made money for putting them there, and they made money for taking them out. But none of them said anything about that. Another thing that I would like to see is I've been in the fishing. I started when I was 16, moved away, got married. I'm married into the fishing family, and I've only seen the Corps of Engineers come into Wakulla County in the channel once, I think, in my lifetime since I've been here. And I really would love to see a channel, if we could get the Corps of Engineers or whoever's over it, to look and see if it's possible to get the channel re-dredged back through Oyster Bay and Skipper Bay, where it opened it up. I saw today on his traps, it's all due to the FWC up there. They did away, you couldn't catch redfish. Okay, so now they're eating all the shrimp. Today I saw shrimp all over those baskets. They're raising on those baskets because there's security there. They got places that they can get that the redfish, the trout, and everything else can't get. Stone crabs were all raising there. They can't raise on the shore because they got the fish eating them. And I'm telling you, they had oysters that they said it was only 7 months, and they're ready to harvest. So I think it would be I was president of the Fishermen's Association for probably 3 years, vice president for a couple, so until they started doing the net ban, and
having us limited on when we could go, when we had to be in, and I said, I'm sorry, I can't do it because I'm a person, and I'm not a fisherman. I just married into a fishing family, and I enjoyed it, and it's what I wanted to do. But when they took it away where I couldn't do it 7 days a week, I couldn't make a living, so I had to go back to what I knew to make a living. I mean, they just put me clean out. But it does work. I mean, you know that certain things don't work in certain places. It works in other places. Like the gentleman got up here and said, Franklin County, it's not working there.
Thank you, sir.
Everything's different in anywhere you go. Some things will work and some won't.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you speaking tonight. Our last speaker is Miss Dana Peck.
Dana Peck, 2481 Surf Road. I like oysters. I love heart-healthy, affordable mullet, and I used to fly a single-engine Piper Cherokee, so I like airplanes too. But I don't like government to pull a fast one on me, snooker me, do shady things, and I was reviewing the infrastructure plan that you all 5-0 adopted tonight on the consent agenda. In that infrastructure plan, if you look down, it says oyster relay / planning. That's great. That's just downright great because, as the previous speaker said, commercial fishermen have made money from oyster relays, and then they make money when they harvest the oysters, wild harvesting of the oysters, and it's really beneficial to the county. But something happened to that title in that infrastructure plan, and it turned into oyster farming relay and restoration. And the budget amount is $200,000 or TBD. I can only assume that means to be determined, like it could go up or it could go down. I also looked further down in the infrastructure, and it said about the Bayside Marina, which is on Surf Road, I believe that there's an amount of $2 to $3 million to be budgeted for a boat ramp with that in Rojo. But it was interesting because it says per board direction on March the 6th, 2017. That means you all decided on that. But there's no per board direction on funding oyster farming with Restore Act money funding. So I would hope you would try to find out how this happened. I know of other secret government negotiations that have gone on, and it turned into that intersection down there, and one of you got rich off of it, and it was never publicly debated. This appears to have not been voted on by all of you because I asked some of you if you knew squat about it, and you didn't. I would hope that you get to the bottom of who revised this funding to include oyster farming. And let me remind you, oyster farm, I used to be a Republican, amazing, isn't it? But Republicanism is you pay your own way. I don't see why oyster farmers could get government money to do their private, for-profit business. And I would hope you would think of that. The commercial fishermen aren't. So it's number 15, infrastructure plan, oyster relay changed to oyster farming.
Thank you, Ms. Peck. That ends our citizens to be heard. We'll go into discussion items by commissioners. Commissioner Merritt.
I saw a notice about the audit committee meeting. Is that still the chairman on the audit committee?
I think we put you on that.
Just want to be sure about that.
Yeah, I think we did.
All right, so I need to go to that.
Yep.
I had also called David. I remember we talked about this nitrogen and all this stuff a couple weeks ago about the plant. I remembered about 10 years ago, back when I had Cleve's job, that we actually dredged that pond, because after a certain number of time, you know, you got a lined pond out there. You remember this? We went in there and used its secondary pond, sucked that pond down, had a mobile belt press come in and de-water the sludge, remember? And it hauled it off. And it made a big difference. And I'm thinking that may be another potential place, because even if you have a little bit of solids over the weir, after 10 years, you have an upset or whatever, the plant may recover. Those solids are still in that lined pond. And they're in an anaerobic environment now, Chuck, I assume that makes nitrogen, or? I'm not a biologist.
Makes nitrogen, but it'd be good, if you have the buildup of sediment down there,
Yeah.
it's real good to get
They're gonna
out.
put the sludge judge on it, I've already.
Don't need a John
got
boat
confirm-
and a sludge
confirmation.
judge.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's just a clear tube you stick down in the water, and it's got a little one-way valve. When you pull it up, you can see how thick the sludge layer is. And remember,
Yeah, that was,
remember that?
oh, yeah.
It was a big ordeal. I mean, we had prisoners down there with brooms, and I was down there with a broom pushing all that. But we hired a vendor to come in with this big pump that sat on a boat, basically, and it's stuck on the bottom. They pumped it to a filter press and we hauled it off. So
Truckloads of it.
truckloads of it, yes, semi-loads of it. And that's just something to look at. That may be another in-kind project. That may solve the issue. I don't know.
Well, it'll
It'll
yeah.
help.
It'll help.
It'll help.
Well, we're not hugely off the mark on our nitrogen.
Well, in our wells we are. In the plant now, we're doing much better, but we're.
Well, remember the
because
pond.
We got our mixed liquor return pumps.
As you know, the pond is between the plant and the wells.
That's right, I know.
So even if the water coming out of the plant has no nitrogen whatsoever, if it's picking up in the pond, anyway, I suggest they take a look at that. All right.
Very good. Anything further? Is it?
Nope.
I had just a couple things. You guys may have heard that apparently the National Forest has closed Wood Lake, the boat ramp, and I heard they also closed Porter and Whitehead.
Really?
Yeah, and so
Shell?
apparently it's about vandalism, and so their solution was just close it down and keep it closed until hunting season. Well, I reached out to Congressman Dunn's office, and I've got a phone call back from the National Forest. I left another message today for a gentleman over in Bristol, and I'm waiting for him to call me back. He was tied up in a meeting, so I don't have the final outcome on it, but I'm working on that and see if we can figure that out and get that resolved.
You talked to our local forest ranger here?
For
in charge of that, isn't he? The officer behind Winn-Dixie?
That's state.
That's state.
That's state.
Yeah.
The one
Winn-Dixie is federal.
No, the one behind
Is it
Winn-Dixie.
federal?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I was full of it.
No, I have not.
Now, what's his name? The
Marcus Beard.
Marcus Beard. That's it.
Yeah.
Of course, he retires in the end of the week, so.
Now's a good time.
Not his problem.
Make some decisions.
Yeah.
Now's a good time to talk.
Yeah. But I'm gonna keep pursuing that. Also, I was approached by a citizen, and I talked to Summer about this today for the first time, of us considering to add a potential zoning district or a couple of districts or whatever for a B&B, bed and breakfast, or like a small boutique kind of inn, you know. And so we don't currently have anything like that in our zoning code, and just wanted to run that past you guys. And
It's fine. How did they build the old Harvey funeral home? That was a bed and breakfast at one time.
The only difficult with that is
That-
you restrict the
I think we
B
had
and B,
zoning
let's
back
say,
then.
to a certain area.
That long ago.
That
That's been a funeral
somewhat
home as
bothers
long
me
as I've
that
been
you say,
around.
well, if you're gonna do a B
Really?
and B, then it has to be here.
well, we could specify zoning districts, and we could even put it in as a conditional use, and so it has to come back for the board, and that way we can weigh the pros and cons of it.
I just hate somebody in Smith Creek wants to do a B and B.
Well, right now, they can't do it
They
at
won't.
all.
They won't, trust
Can't
me.
do it at all.
Yeah, but right now, we have commercial zoning coming back to us next month, I think, or at least starting to come back to us to rework the commercial zoning in the county, and so this would be a good time to address that.
Yeah. So that's all I was looking for, not to vote on anything tonight, just to see if we got a head nod to get Summer to maybe investigate that and bring that back
In the
to us.
Crawfordville town plan or just anywhere?
I mean, I think anywhere, 'cause I think people would more likely, you know, like the Sweet Magnolia there in
St. Mark's?
in St. Mark's.
Mark's, Panacea
Yeah.
area.
You remember when the old funeral home was a bed and breakfast, right?
I don't remember that.
Come on, guys, it's like the 90s. It wasn't that long ago.
When I retire, I'm gonna start one and stop shopping.
Jesse, you remember being a bed and breakfast? Anybody?
It wasn't, Randy.
You do? You, Sherry, she remembers.
It
Remember?
might be a little more difficult now with the Airbnb movement.
Was it in the 80s?
Yeah.
And so it's the same market as a bed and breakfast, so
Yeah,
you might not want to.
your Airbnb today is the same thing as
Right.
Uber and whatever. So it's going to work itself out.
Yeah.
But if somebody wants a B&B, that's more than welcome. But they're going out of business like a son of a gun because Airbnb.
Yeah.
Airbnb is just hammering the market.
But say you're retired and you've got 3 empty bedrooms and you're still living there, but
I am.
You might
I
wanna-
have.
There you go. So you can open one up and
But that can also just...
nice
West Virginia
views
can
and-
cook breakfast.
I have.
Yeah.
I couldn't,
I come over and eat
I
breakfast
couldn't live
every
with my
morning.
wife
Miss
then.
Virginia is a great cook.
That's right.
You know, so yeah.
I like that upper bedroom. That's good.
I would do it in a minute, but I can't. My wife wouldn't. She'd move.
Jerry's Airbnb.
Yeah. Very good. So that's all I have.
Just you've heard of manna from heaven, and I keep bringing this up, but I talked to David last week or this week or something. Our benefit from the Gulf oil debacle or whatever we want to call it is going to be like $90 million over the next 15 years. And when you leverage the $90 million like a 10 to 1, that's huge amount of money that was just dropped down to us. And with our administrator now in our county, they're going to spend that properly, and we're going to cover and make sure it's spent properly. But we're getting our sewer systems paid for somewhat, our water systems, and those are the most expensive things that we have going for us today. But when you get a gift like that and you don't have any damage to your county, we might have had some loss of tourism or
Had
something.
oil on the beach, Jerry. Everybody knows that we had oil on the beach.
You had what on the beach?
Had that oil to qualify for the money,
economic
Jerry.
damage.
We didn't have the first oil ball on the beach.
Let me, had
Have
economic,
a lot of economic
A
damage.
lot of economic damage.
you had to have oil on the beach to qualify for this money.
The agriculture guy was
See
at,
it. We didn't see it, Jerry.
the agriculture guy was at the Welcome Center, and he was talking about how we
Where's
didn't
the
have
press
anything.
at?
Hey,
Don't print that
Boom
in.
was
Shut off
deployed.
the microphone.
Remember that?
Yes.
Boom was
We
deployed.
did
all
have a
over the
boom, and a lot of people lost time and lost income
Yes.
because they were set to run the booms. But it's a gift from heaven, really, because it's money the taxpayers don't have to pay. Somebody has to pay for all this stuff, and for that 90 million plus what it leverages down the road, that's money that we don't have to pay for. Very
Right.
fortunate.
Keep in mind that David's been attending these meetings with the Gulf Consortium, and there are counties all over our state that's after our money, so it's a constant fight.
Yeah.
It's a constant fight every time that
Right.
meeting
That's
goes
right.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we need to be consistent with our message. Listening to the oyster issue tonight, one of the things in resource management, I came from a resource management background, is that a lot of times groups that normally just get up and talk at each other, if you get a small group to get together, they can talk to each other and actually make progress. And that's what I would suggest we try to encourage our oyster farmers and our commercial fishermen to do, is to develop a small group, Mr. Porter, Justin, and John Taylor, and work and get together as a small group and talk about the issues and try to work together on the issues, because everybody can profit from the oysters out in the bay. Everybody can profit from the commercial fishermen. We just got to work together to make it happen, and that's how most resource management solutions arise out there.
There you go.
Basically, I put it on Facebook, but I'll put it out here. If anybody would like to go out and work a day on the oyster beds, give me a text or give me a call. It would be a full day of work. It's probably 5-6 hours, and you'll start off clean and you'll come home dirty and tired. But if you would like to do a day and see what we do on the oyster beds, you'd be welcome to join my boat and spend a day. But you will work and you will be tired, and I'm an equal opportunity employer, so if it's a lady, that'll be great too.
I'd like to add to that if I could. I'm sure I'm speaking for Smith Creek. If anybody like a beekeeping experience, you're more than welcome to go out and work all day with a beekeeper pulling honey. You will get stung, you will sweat from head to toe.
Same thing, yes.
Same thing, but you'll get the experience, so I'm sure they'd appreciate it. Right, Michelle? They'd love all the help they can
Wasn't
get.
there a book called Tom Sawyer or something like that? I got a fence that needs to be painted too.
That's right, his fence needs to be painted.
Motion to adjourn.
That go to Brer Rabbit.
All right, let's-
Motion
All
to
right,
adjourn.
we stand adjourned. Thank you all for coming out tonight.
Reed, I think if you know something and you want to say something.